Welcome to EVTN News. EVTN News identifies as the #1 live stream on YouTube, and because the statistics may not show it, however, if you don't accept this, then that would make you a bigot. Anyway, moving on. Um, we have a nice list of items, news items to mention today. Obviously, the fallout from the Latin Mass motu proprio is going on, and I'm reading a lot of different things and kind of studying up on that. Um, I'm sure that you guys are as well. So if you have any favorites, favorite comments, favorite videos, favorite podcasts on this topic, let me know. Now, I do want to talk about this is, let me see here. I believe it's Brooklyn, New York. Yeah, Brooklyn, New York. The New American Bible is required to be read at the Latin Mass, any Latin Mass set at Brooklyn, New York. I believe, which bishop was this? Was it DiMarzio, I believe, from Brooklyn, New York? I think he is under a Vos Estis investigation. Um, and now this isn't horrible, um, because the priest could always take the opportunity to, read the New American Bible and then uh, educate his parishioners on the benefits of reading the Douay Rheims version of the Bible. And I think it was Tim Flanders, Meaning of Catholic, had a discussion on why he believes that the Douay Rheims is the best version of the Bible that we can read. And he talks about its positives and negatives, and you can analyze those. Take a look at, watch the video, take a look and see what he says. But overall, he thinks it's the best translation for at least Americans and English speaking people. So that's that. And basically, with the New American Bible being read at these masses, obviously the readings are going to be in Latin, and then uh, right after that, they'll be read in English, which not all Latin masses do that. Some do, some don't. And I feel like if the readings are read in English, it kind of disrupts the flow a little bit. That's my own personal opinion. Um, but that's that. I'm not too bent out of shape about that, but like, why do they care? I mean, is it just so that each priest will be forced to purchase a copyrighted version of the bishop's modern translation of the Bible with their modernist footnotes? I don't know. But the Douay Rheims Bible is public domain, and so you can download it for free. And yeah, so let's see here. Next item, Archvirus Bishop. Is it Virus Archbishop or Archvirus? I don't know, but Archbishop Wester in New Mexico is in hot water. LifeSite News posted this article after they had discovered a report in which there were at least four instances in which Archbishop Wester covered up abuse, including alleged abuse of an 8-year-old. So when he was vicar for clergy in San Francisco, he covered this stuff up. Some of it was in conjunction with the current auxiliary bishop of the time, and for this, I think this should certainly be investigated. There should be a Vos Estis investigation, and hopefully Archbishop Wester will be forced out. And I don't hope these stories are true. I never hope that anyone ever gets harmed, but I certainly hope for the corrupt individuals to be forced out of, especially high-ranking positions of bishops, especially an archbishop. And Archbishop Wester is certainly one of the most corrupt in the United States, and there's no question about that. He supports LMNOP. He supported the heretical Association of United States Catholic Priests. They support women's ordination in LMNOP. Um, he 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 locked down his diocese even when the Democrat governor said that churches could reopen at 100% capacity. He said, "No, we're still going to keep restrictions in place because I don't want people to go to mass." He said, "Home is the holy place," and he'll be spending a lot of time at home if this investigation does go through and find that these allegations are credible against him. And if that is the case, it could be pretty good for the region because one of the corrupt bishops in that region will probably be moved to the Archbishop of New Mexico, Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I believe that the leading candidates for that would be, is it Bishop Wiesenberger of Tucson? He's very corrupt. He's a sports LNOP, and of course Bishop McElroy's, nearby in San Diego, and he's possibly the worst bishop in the United States. So, sorry for the Archdiocese of Santa Fe. If your corrupt bishop is going to be removed, you're probably going to get a bad one to replace him. But it could be good news for the Diocese of Phoenix because Bishop Olmsted's due to retire pretty soon, and his auxiliary bishop Navarez has made some strong pro-life statements, so it could probably be a pretty solid replacement for Olmsted. But considering that there's some young up-and-coming LMNOP bishops, I would imagine as long as Pope Francis is alive, which that's not even going to be, that's not even, that's a guess at this point, because Pope Francis' health is in serious question, and the fact that he's pushing out these crazy directives and he's saying these heretical statements. He just did not. He just talked about the multiplication of loaves and the fishes recently, where he said that it was a miracle of sharing. Of course, we've heard this over and over again with the modernists. Oh well, it's a miracle of sharing. Well, is it really a miracle? Because if it is a miracle, then wouldn't you be highlighting like the supernatural part of that? I don't know. Maybe not the communist part, but that's just me. I mean, and I can't really speak for the Pope, but anyway, yeah, Archvirus Bishop Wester. I hope he's forced to resign. I don't care. I mean, I do care what happens here, but I hope he resigns. I've been demanding for his resignation for a while, and hopefully it's coming soon. The next story is Onepeterfive was sold to Crisis Magazine. Now, Steve Skojec, a lot of people have a lot of opinions about Steve Skojec, and he's done. He's done with Onepeterfive. He'll maintain his blog, but Crisis Magazine was recently taken over by the editor Eric Sammons, and who I think he's doing a pretty good job. Now, Skojec, he released an article pretty much insulting his FSSP priest because he didn't show up for Mass, and the FSSP priest gave him a hard time about getting a baptism for his child. So Skojec went off on this FSSP priest because he was afraid of the virus and didn't want to show up for Mass every time. And I don't know, so here's my thing. Eric Sammons, he was a former writer for Onepeterfive, and so he purchased up Onepeterfive. But how's that going to work? Is it Onepeterfive? Are they going to function separately? And how's he going to who's he going to hire for writers? And why couldn't he just hire them for Crisis Magazine? I don't really understand the what'd you call it, the merger. I don't really understand that aspect of the business. I don't know how that would be a great business decision because Skojec was Onepeterfive. He paid himself all of the revenue from Onepeterfive. So I don't really understand the business side of why Crisis Magazine was, had purchased Onepeterfive instead of Skojec just shutting it down, except for the donors. There's a lot of big-time donors. I think Onepeterfive is generating like 100,000 plus annually in donations. So we'll see what happens now that Skojec is not going to be writing or going to be managing Onepeterfive. There were a lot of good writers that wrote for the website, and so I expect that to continue. And Crisis Magazine, they're headed in a good direction with Eric Sammons. So it seems like a really good, really positive development for at least us as Catholic consumers of this media, and for at least the near future. So, keep an eye out for that, see what happens. Bishop Robert Reed, he's an auxiliary bishop of Boston. He's a fan of the Latin Mass. And he posted a tweet, and you can take a look at the links down below in the description. And he said, "My mother's missal remains a powerful witness to her faith and Eucharistic piety." It's a Latin Mass missal. He says, as the priest would kneel in adoration of the sacred host, she would kiss the words of consecration. 60 years later, her lipstick is still there. That missal which my mother would give to me during the sermon, this was pre-Cheerios, with its rich illustrations, became my first catechism. So, Bishop Robert Reed, the auxiliary bishop of Boston, seems to be a fan of the Latin Mass, and that's great. We need all our allies we can get. And it seems as though things have kind of stabled out in terms of the Latin Mass front with bishops deciding what to do, but it is a positive development. And a lot of bishops seem to be coming out in favor of the Latin Mass, now, of course, tentatively, because most bishops do everything tentatively. But this, it's good, and we need everyone on our side that we can get. And so, Bishop Robert Reed, come to any of our local parishes and say a Pontifical High Mass, and we'll give you a very warm welcome. And we'd be, more than happy to have you at any of our local parishes, no matter where we are in the world. So that's an open invitation to all of us. And really, I mean, most bishops would certainly have an open invitation to say a Pontifical High Mass in any of our Latin Mass parishes. There certainly would be a few exceptions, but they wouldn't consider it anyway. So from 2019 to 2020, the Vatican increased their deficit sixfold. So the Holy See's deficit increased in 2020 to 66 million euros from 11 million in 2019. The Vatican's income is generated by investments, visitors and services, donations, and the Vatican Bank. So if you're looking at visitors and services, well, they wouldn't have had any in 2020. So that would be maybe one reason why the deficit increased, because tourism was at an all-time low, and enthusiasm for this current Vatican is probably at an all-time low. I think that's pretty safe to say at this point, especially considering the motu proprio. And I did see a note that Francis would be releasing a motu proprio on, I think, something separate. I don't think it has to do with the Latin Mass, but I think there's a possibility it's coming this week. I saw that on Twitter, and I don't know the specifics, so don't quote me on that. But if he does, there's something pretty seriously crazy that's going on. Because Pope Francis gets out of the hospital, and immediately he releases this attack on the Latin Mass. And did he get like a time limit for how much time he has left on this earth? Did the doctor say you have a serious illness and you only have like 6 months to live or something? And I don't know, I think it might have been Ryan on this channel who said that Pope Francis would not be Pope at the end of this year, 2021. So we'll see if that's true. It's looking like that's likely, and it's also looking likely that Pope Benedict is a prisoner in the Vatican. And we still have not received any word from Pope Benedict on his thoughts on Summorum Pontificum. Was he wrong? Because if Pope Benedict if Pope Benedict made errors in Summorum Pontificum, then if Pope Benedict doesn't believe that he made errors in Summorum Pontificum, then he would oppose Pope Francis directly. So, and Pope Francis, he did have half his colon removed. I see that, but you can still survive like that, and it's possible to live a little bit longer now. His age is catching up with him. That's not, it's not super optimistic for the future, but I think any of these medical conditions, a lot of them with the advances in technology, like medical technology, you can help people extend their lives and the quality of lives significantly, even if there's a major operation or anything like that. So I don't know. I don't know the whole situation. That I'm not a doctor, so I can't comment on that. But it certainly seems like Pope Francis left the hospital with a sense of urgency to increasingly, increase his attacks on the Catholic faith, and we'll see what happens. And the final story is crux now, and many others are critical of the Pillar's research. Now, recently the Pillar busted Monsignor Jeffrey Burrill, of the former Secretary of the USCCB, for using a dating app to meet up with men. And also the Archdiocese of Newark, New Jersey, they kind of busted them as a group. They didn't name names in that situation, which I kind of wish they did. And there are a lot of people criticizing the Pillar for releasing this information. And for me, I'm a pretty big fan of privacy. So, like, I'm not a big fan of the U.S. government spying on people, and this was sort of like the Edward Snowden thing with the NSA. And I'm a big fan of personal privacy. I don't like the idea of companies collecting my information, your information, and with this video, the U.S. government will be able to track me with facial recognition features just because I'm posting this video on YouTube. When you're commenting, you're probably not an anonymous commenter, even if you have most of you have fake names that are commenting on this channel, and that's fine. I don't, for me, I don't care because I'm not even posting my full real name. But I think the government's still able to track you that way, and so I think there is sort of a line when it comes to privacy in terms of this kind of spying, releasing information. But at the same time, I want the church to be cleaned up. And so when this information is turned over to diocesan officials, because like if you're at your job and you're using your computer to do some illegal activity like maybe money laundering, your employer has access to that. And I see our IP addresses give us away, sure, and so anyone can not anyone, but you can be tracked pretty easily using internet. And like, I do want to clean up the church, and I want the Pillar to use this information to clean up the church. And so if your first reaction to a priest meeting up with using an app to meet up with men daily, if your first reaction is, oh, that's an infringement on privacy, I think you got your priorities pretty messed up. Is it a concern? Maybe. And we can discuss that after everyone is busted and removed. So those priests were just expressing their pride. Yeah, well, pride's a deadly sin. Anyway, this is in the Archdiocese, or the Diocese of La Crosse, Wisconsin, Bishop Callahan's diocese. Remember, Bishop Callahan removed a priest that you might be familiar with, Father James Altman, and he removed him for being divisive. So he did. So I'm going to read this letter to you from Bishop Callahan. Sadly, I share the news from Archbishop Gomez concerning the resignation of our brother, Monsignor Jeffrey Burrill, from his position at the USCCB, which was made public this morning. The media reports establish no facts and truth about Jeff's behavior, either innocent or not. Nevertheless, we have learned throughout the years of dealing with cases of moral crisis to pursue and investigate all misconduct allegations and to promote the causes of justice and morality for all. I am prayerfully and eager to hear the truth in all of this, as I'm sure we all are. In the meantime, brothers, let us pray for and support one another. In this case, please pray for Monsignor Burrill. Thank you, and may God be with you. So Bishop Callahan is saying, our brother, yeah, there might be some, there might be some misconduct, but who really knows? And it's all right, and we need to, the media reports establish no fact. Really? Why did he resign? Did he maintain his innocence? Did he ever maintain his innocence? That's the key here. He never said anything about denying anything. So that's an indication that he probably did all that stuff, and they have a record of it. So Bishop Callahan, which side are you going to choose? Are you going to choose the LMNOPs over the divisive that promote the Catholic faith? I don't know. Bishop Callahan's been pretty much a disappointment. There's no way around that. But all right, I'm going to get to the comments here because I see there's a lot of information on the live chat. Father Altman. So, and here's one thing. If anyone likes Father James Altman, if you talk to anyone and they don't attend the Latin Mass and they're a fan of Father James Altman, you say, hey, you have a choice between the Novus Ordo and the Latin Mass, and you know, figure out what side you're standing on. And okay, so Chicken Little Catholic said you can only be in the Vatican. You can only gain an entrance in the Vatican if you have the jab. So that's interesting. That's an interesting point, and I think we. I think that's a problem. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, Francis did receive the jab, and now he's having medical issues. But anyway, that's not something I mentioned. Forget about that. That's for Rumble. Okay, the only privacy left in modern society is reserved for abortion. That's sad. Some support for Father Altman. Okay, so everyone, thank you so much for showing up to this live stream of EVTN. So by watching this video, you're contributing to our self-identified statistics as being the #1 live stream on YouTube. I can see it right here in the live chat, or in the live stream numbers. This is you know, more views than YouTube has ever seen, and you know, maybe you'll see that as well. And if you don't see that, then you need to accept my identification, or else you're a bigot. It's just plain and simple. So thank you so much for watching EVTN News, the #1 live stream on YouTube. We are the laity, and we will not be silent unless we make up our facts and whatever.